and welcome to Adding and Subtractions with Qubit Education. In this lecture, you will add fractions with the same denominator. You will add fractions after finding the lowest common denominator, and you will add fractions by cross-multiplying. We'll also do some subtraction, but it works the same. Okay, so let's have a look at this fraction first. We've got 3/9 plus 5/9. When the numbers on the bottom are the same, it's easy. All you do is add the top numbers together. So 5 add 3 is 8, and you just keep the bottom number the same, okay? So it's nice and easy. When adding fractions, we add the numerators, the top numbers together, and leave the bottom numbers the same, and they're called the denominators. But only when the denominators are the same. We can't do this when they're different. Okay, so let's try a subtraction. Again, the numbers on the bottom are the same, so all we're going to do is do 12 take away 8, which leaves us with 4 over 22. Now, the only other thing you could do with this, and I would like to explain this quite quickly, is you've got 4 and 22. Now, they can be cancelled down, and by cancelling down I mean dividing by a common number. So 4 and 22 are both even numbers, so I know that 2 will go into both of these. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2 to give me an equivalent fraction. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 22 divided by 2 is 11. Okay, so I can't divide that again, but that is basically now in its simplest form. Okay, so if you have a fraction where you think that can be divided by something, so this could be 9 and this could be 30, this could be 9 and this could be 30, you could divide by 3, okay? Or let's say you had 5 and 15, it could be divided by 5. So you have to think of a number that they will both be divided by to turn it into its simplest form, okay? And you'll see me do that throughout this lecture, okay? Okay, so so 2 over 11. Okay, now let's look at one where the bottom numbers are different, because in this case you have to do something a little bit different. So what we need to do is think about a number that both 4 and 6 go into. So we need to think about the 4 and the 6 times table. So I've just written down the 4 times table here, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, blah, 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 and the 6 times table here. Okay, I do recommend that you learn your times tables, and I'll probably say this in every lecture you have, because when you learn your times tables, it is much easier to carry out sums like this. So then all I need to do is look down my columns and see which number appears in both. The smallest one as well. You don't want to, I mean, you could use 24 if you wanted to, because that appears in both, but it'll be easier to use the smallest one you can find, which appears to be 12. Okay, so 12 is the smallest number in both times tables. And I'm going to write 12 at the bottom of both of my fractions now. Okay, now the top numbers need to change as well, but what you need to do is think about, what did you do to this 4 to get to 12? So if you look at your times table, 1, 2, 3. So that means to get from 4 to 12, I times by 3. So because I've done that, I now need to times the top number by 3 as well. So 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 is on the top now. And then you think, what did I multiply 6 by to get to 12? Well, 1, 2. So I multiplied it by 2. So now I need to times the top by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So now I have two fractions where the denominators are the same. So now I can just add my top numbers. So 9 add 10 is 19. Okay, so you end up with 19 over 12, and we leave the bottom number the same like we did before. Okay. Now, there's just one more step to this, because this fraction is what we call a top-heavy fraction, which means the number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. And in this case, we can't cancel down, because there is no number that goes into both 19 and 12. So we can't put it in its simplest form. Well, this is its simplest form. It won't go any lower. But what we can do is we can turn it into a mixed number. Now with fractions means like to break it up into pieces. And if I wanted a whole piece, let's say I had a pizza with 12 slices. If I had 12 out of 12, if 12 was on the top and the bottom, it would mean that I had to have a full pizza. but I've got a full pizza plus some more. So I've got 12 out of 12, plus I've got some more, because I've actually got 19 slices. So that means I've got one whole pizza, okay, just here. And then how many slices are left? So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And if you count up on your fingers, you'll realise that you've got 7 slices more. So 7 more. So you've got a whole pizza, which is 12 out of 12, plus another 7. So we can write it like this: 1 whole one and 7 twelfths. Okay, now another way to do this, and a lot of people like this method because you don't really have to think about your times tables too much, is to cross multiply. So we call this cross multiplication. And what you do here is we multiply the two bottom numbers together. So we'd have to do 4 times 6. And then what we would do is we'd put that on the bottom of our fraction. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now instead of putting the answer. So I'm going to write down 4 times 6. And then what I'd have to do is cross multiply the other numbers. So I'd have to do 6 times 3 and 4 times 5. If you look, I've written it here. So I do the bottom two numbers multiplied together, and then I do 3 times 6, leaving the 3 times 6 this side because that's where the 3 is. And then I would do 4 times 5, leaving it on this side because that's where the 5 is. It doesn't really matter if you mix these up with addition, but when you subtract, if you have a bigger number here than you do, sorry, if you have a smaller number here than you do here, then you'll get the wrong answer. So make sure that you keep the 3 this side when multiplying, or whatever number is there, keep it on this side. Okay, so then we're going to have 24 on the bottom. 4 times 6 is 24, and then 3 times 6 is 18, and 5 times 4 is 20. So we have 18 plus 20, okay, so that gives us 38 over 24. And again, as you can see, that's a top-heavy fraction, okay. Now, it's a bit different, even though it's the same answer, same question, we seem to have a different answer. But don't worry, when you get down to the end, it will be the same. So now you've got to think, you can either cancel this down until you get a smaller fraction, but instead of doing that, we could just turn it into a mixed number straight away. So if I had 24 out of 24, that would be my full pizza. Okay, and then we have to think about what's left. So how many 24s go into 38? Okay, and it's just 1. And 38 take away 24, okay, that would be 14. So we had to have 14 over 24. The bottom number always stays the same, okay? So we've got 1 whole pizza plus 14 more slices out of 24. That's still not the same answer as we had before. The last thing you need to do is cancel this down, okay? So again, as I said, you need to think of a number that goes into both 14 and 24. Again, 4 is an even number, so I know that I can divide them both by 2. Okay, if I divide them both by 2, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. So I'd end up with 1 and 7 twelfths. Okay, now I've got some examples here for you, addition ones and then some subtraction ones. If you want to have a go by pausing the video, and then I'll go through the answers so it gives you some more practice, okay, and I'll explain them again. Okay, so if you've paused the video, let's have a go at this one first, okay? 1/5 plus 2 over 7, or 2 sevenths. So here is my times tables, okay? I'm going to find the lowest common denominator with this, rather than doing the cross multiplication version. So what number do both 5 and 7 appears in both the 5 and 7 times table? And as you can see, it's 35. 35 is in both of those, and that's the smallest one. Okay, so I'm going to put 35 on the bottom of both of my fractions. Then I think, what did I do to 5 to get 35? And I just count how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I multiplied by 7. Oops. I multiplied by 7, which means I now need to multiply this by 7. Well, 1 times 7 is 7, so that's fine. And then what did I multiply 7 by to get 35? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that means I multiply 2 by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So then I just add the top two numbers, giving me 17 over 35. I can't do any more with that, okay, because, sorry, I've missed an apostrophe here. That's really annoying, seeing as, put it in orange. Probably won't really be able to show. So I've missed an apostrophe. Apologies for that. We can't change it into a mixed number because it is not a top-heavy fraction. Okay, so we can't change it. But also 17 is a prime number, which means only 1 and 17 go into 17, and which means we can't cancel it down. So that's our final answer. Okay, nothing goes into 17 and 35 at the same time. All right. Let's do the next one. We've got 1/10 plus 1/2. Okay, here's our 10 times table and here's our 2 times table. Now, as you can see, 10 is in the 10 times table and in the 2 times table. That means that I don't actually have to change this because it's already got 10 there. So I've already got my 1/10, I don't need to change it. But what did I do to 2 to get to 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I times 2 by 5 to get to 10. So I need to do 1 times 5 to get this answer. 1 times 5 is 5. Now that leaves us with 6 on the top and 10 on the bottom. Now when I said to cancel down, you need to think what goes into both. 2 goes into both 6 and 10. So I'm going to divide by 2. Okay, and that gives me 3 over 5. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 3/5. Okay, that's our final answer in its simplest form. So the last one we're going to do is 1/3 plus 2 over 21. Now in this one, I'm going to write down my 3 times table and my 21 times table. Now, if you look carefully, 21 appears in both. So again, that means that I don't actually have to do anything with this because it's already got 21. So all I need to do is think about what I did to 3 to get 21. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. So 1 times 7 is 7. And that gives us 9 over 21. Now this can be simplified. And I don't know if you can notice, but both of these numbers can be divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. So our final answer is 3/7. Okay, so now here's a few subtraction ones. Have a go at these, and we're going to use the cross multiply method for these ones. Okay, again, it works the same for add and subtract, so don't panic. It's exactly the same. I just wanted you to use two methods. Okay, so if you've paused the video, here are your answers. 1/5 minus 2/7. So, for cross multiplication, we multiply the 2 on the bottom. Then, what we do is we do 1 times 7, okay, and leave it this side where the 1 is, and 2 times 5, here. 5 times 7 is 35, 1 times 7 is 7, and 5 times 2 is 10. Now this one is going to give you a minus number. So 7 take away 10 is minus 3. So we would write minus 3 over 35. There is a video on negative numbers if you're not sure. So please check it out, or if it's on your course and you haven't already watched it, please do. So 7 take away 10. It's like saying you've got £7 in the bank, but you went to the cash point, you went to a shop and you spent £10 on your debit card. Okay, you actually owe the bank £3 now. That's what that means. Okay, so 3 over 35. That's perfect. Okay, and we can write it like this, minus 3 over 35. We don't have to keep the minus at the top, and it also looks a bit tidier like this. Okay, so the next one, 1/10 minus 1/2. So we do 10 times 2 on the bottom, and then 1 times 2 here, minus 1 times 10 here. 1 times 2 is 2. Sorry, let's do the bottom first. 10 times 2 is 20. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 10 is 10. And again, you've got another minus answer. So 2 minus 10 gives us minus 8. So again, that's like saying you've got £2 in your bank, but you bought something for £10 on your debit card. Well, you actually only had £2, so you now owe the bank 8. Now, we can write it as minus 8 over 20, but we can also cancel down. Both 8 and 20 can be divided by 4. 8 divided by 4 and 20 divided by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2 and 20 divided by 4 is 5. But don't forget your minus. It's still a minus answer just because you've subtracted. Okay? Right, so last one. 1/3 minus 2 over 21. So 3 times 21 goes on the bottom. Okay, then we have 1 times 21 here and 2 times 3 here, or 3 times 2, doesn't really matter. On the bottom, you would end up with 63, okay, because 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, nice and easy multiplication there. 1 times 21 is 21, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now this one you end up with a nice positive number. Okay, so 21 take away 6 is 15, and 63 remains on the bottom. Now, what you can do here is divide by 3. Both 15 and 63 can be divided by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 63 divided by 3 is 21. So your final answer is 5 over 21. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for using Cubit Education, and I hope to see you next time.